miscreants, these are your workers. You intimidate. You called in police. Are you stupid? Your attrition percentage is 65%. You didn't read any of the point. Where is this mentioned in the lists of asks by the union? Where are you getting your information? A PS5 in 10 minutes? We've got you. A Vietnamese iced coffee to quench your thirst? We've got you. Coal's going up? Honey, get more coal! We've got you. These 10-minute quick commerce apps have made our life a lot easier. I remember, not remembering to buy a map to take to school the next day. And then my dad would step out in the dead of the night and then end up getting me the wrong one. And then I'll get a scolding both at home and at school for not getting the map. Nowadays, I could just blink at it. In fact, with a single click of a button, I can get a personal limo for all of my groceries. And the quick commerce business is booming. In 2023, India's quick commerce market was valued something around 1.6 billion. By the next year, it doubled to 3.05. And in 2025, it doubled again to 7.1 billion. And you have to consider right now that all of this growth is coming just from the tier 1 cities. They've yet to expand to tier 2, tier 3. And you're bound to see much more profit there. And yet, on Christmas Day and New Year's Eve 2025, we saw mass protests from delivery partners across the country. Blinkit, Swiggy Instamart, Zepto, and more all came together to ask for what I think are just basic rights. The main focus of what they were asking for are as follows. 1. Some financial security. Delivery partners are gig workers at the end of the day. They have reported working around 12 to 14 hours just to earn some basic income. In fact, one viral video from September showed Tapilyalji, I've butchered that name, a Blinkit worker earning just 762 rupees for 28 orders over almost 15 hours. This is back-breaking work for barely any pay. And you might say that the customer should tip these guys, like how they do it in the US, but we don't really have that tipping culture here. And, it's not that easy to establish in just a day. So, what are these guys asking for? 20 rupees per kilometer and a monthly income of 24,000 rupees to 40,000 rupees. Now, I completely understand that this is pretty much an antithesis of what gig work is, but even you have to understand that they don't have to just feed themselves, but even their families. Now, I'm picking up these numbers from a food farmer video from over a year ago, so it might not be as accurate as it was then, but it sure gets the point across. Now you can see where they're coming from. Discontinuation of the 10-minute delivery model. I've seen my fair share of delivery partners break traffic laws. And I know in India we have a more flexible interpretation of these laws, but even then, these guys seem to be testing the edges of it. I can't remember how many times I've heard abuses under my breath when a delivery partner speeds past me without any indication. All of this is for me to tell you how dangerously these guys drive. But it's not because they're daredevils or thrill seekers, it's because of our tendency to get our deliveries within 10 minutes. And they get into accidents, they get other people into accidents, all for what? To be fair, it's not like all of these deliveries come within 10 minutes. I've myself seen it on the apps when they sometimes say that your delivery might take 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So why is that not the standard? Why do we have to force them to drive so fast that they might get into accidents when we could just wait for 20 minutes more? And I'm really hoping that our behaviors have not changed so much that we demand that we only need our deliveries within 10 minutes. The third ask is of a legal status. Now, throughout this video, you would have noticed me calling these riders as delivery partners, not workers, not employees, but partners. And that's legalese for, I don't have to give them benefits, minimum wage, or accident liability. I can get them to do my deliveries and then not be responsible for the workers themselves. Recognition as workers under Indian labor law would entitle these delivery partners to social security, health insurance, and pensions. But what exactly happened on the ground? Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but these protests kind of failed. Despite the protests, the platforms reported record-breaking numbers. 7.5 million orders just on Zomato/Blinkit alone. Why is this? Quite a lot of reasons. The first one is police presence. So I'm going to show you two letters now. Now, I don't know if you've seen them before, but at least before the making of this video, I hadn't. The first letter is from Swiggy. It says, Dear delivery partner, Swiggy has engaged with senior police officers in Hyderabad city. The police have clearly assured that on 31st December 2025, strict and immediate action will be taken against any miscreants. Miscreants? These are your workers. No, sorry, your delivery partners who are asking for basic rights, and you dare call them miscreants? Really? This is how you treat your employees? Who illegally obstruct delivery partners while they're on duty? Delivery partners can continue accepting and completing orders without fear with full support from the authorities. You know, had this come from someone else, I would have given them some leeway. But the fact that this is coming from the company itself, when they say that, okay, you can complete your order without fear, you have full support from the authorities, it sounds more like a threat to me. There's another letter from Zomato. It's along the same line. It's in a bit of Hindi, but let me just say what it is. So, same thing, that you'll have the full support of the authority behind you for you to complete your orders. And on 31st December 2025, please log in without any worries and earn up to 3,000 rupees. This comes to my second reason. You remember that guy who earned around 800 rupees for working 15 hours and completing 28 deliveries? The guy who earns 800 on a good day suddenly sees that, oh, I can earn 3,000 just today. Such a huge difference that money can make. This is something that I would call strike breaking. You're giving them such incentives that they have no option but to leave the protest and start making deliveries. Third one, ID blocking threats. Yes, they did this too. You know how when you're getting fired, you get a call from the HR, you have a small meeting, a small exit interview, and it's done. For these gig workers, there's no such complicated process. You just automatically get removed from the app. So people who refused to take part in delivering, even after the incentives, even after the police threat, these guys gave a simple solution. Many of them received notifications from these apps suggesting that if you fail to log in during these high demand periods, you could earn either a lower internal rating, which would affect how many deliveries you get later, as in after the protest, or just account suspension directly. And you know what the fourth thing is? The fourth thing is actually the customer base. I honestly want to blame every single person who ordered something on Christmas Day and on New Year's Eve. The only issue is I don't actually know how many people even knew that the protest was going on. This wasn't big news. I only came across it maybe after Christmas, in fact. In practicality, these protests were a failure. The platform saw a huge amount of orders, they made their money, and I don't think these guys got their points heard. Hopefully, there will be some changes later regarding the laws that these guys have to follow. At least some kind of a legal right so that they're able to get their accident liabilities, their pension funds, and everything else related to that. So, Deepinder Goyal is the CEO of Eternal, the company which owns Zomato and Blinkit. So, a lot of the partners who were protesting actually, are employed by these two companies. Or I guess work along with them. I don't know what delivery partner means anymore. But whatever, let's go through it because he had a long tirade about this protest and really wanted to clarify how gig economy is great. Okay, so Zomato and Blinkit delivered a record pace yesterday, unaffected by calls for strikes. Great. Support from local law enforcement helped keep the small number of miscreants, again with the miscreant label, in check, enabling 4.5 lakh plus delivery partners. 4.5 lakh plus, huh? That's a big number. And you're calling them, it was only a small number of people who wanted to protest. According to the union, around 2 lakh plus delivery partners were there protesting. So it's not a small number. No, a lot of people need these rights. Next, yeah, so this happened without any additional incentives for delivery partners. NYE does see higher incentives, but it was no different in the past NYE days. You think that the normal NYE incentive is not enough to force a guy who works and gets maybe 800 rupees for a day to force a guy who sees suddenly that, oh, I can get 3,000, almost 4 times what he normally earns, to stop the protest and join you? Do you really think that's not an incentive? Fine, whatever. You're grateful to local authorities, great. Most importantly, thank you to our delivery partners who showed up despite intimidation. You intimidated them. They didn't get intimidated by the protesters. They've come in because you called in police, because you threatened them of ID blocking, which would remove them from your platform, which would remove their only source of income. One thought for everyone. If a system were fundamentally unfair, it would not consistently attract and retain so many people who chose to work within it. Are you stupid? Do you really think a guy who chooses to work for 15,000 rupees a month with no benefits is doing it because the system is fair? He's not doing it because he has no other option, that he's not getting employed anywhere else. This seems to be the only place where he can get at least some amount of money so that he can feed himself, so that he can feed his family. You think this is because of it's a fair system? And oh, wait, you said it retains so many people. In another tweet, let me just look for it. Your attrition percentage is 65% in a year. 65% anywhere else. This would be thought it's a toxic environment. Why are 65% of the people leaving your company every year? And you're saying that, oh, it's 65% a year because this is a gig work. It's not a permanent work. What's the next thing? The gig economy is one of India's largest job creation systems. Organized job creation system. What organization? You're not giving them any benefits. There's nothing organized about it. It's a little bit organized over them working construction jobs. Will compound over time, and delivery partners' children, supported by stable incomes and education, they're not getting stable incomes. That's why the protest is happening. Did you read even one point that the unions gave out, or just like you saw that a strike is happening and you should prevent it, you should talk about it? That's it. You didn't read any of the points. Next tweet. Let's go to that. So most of our delivery partners did not want to go on a strike yesterday. The 0.1%, I told you, it's 2 lakh people wanted to take. Stop calling them miscreants first. And 2 lakh plus workers wanted to go for a protest. I mentioned a tweet below were illegally snatching parcels from those who wanted to work, beating them up and threatening to damage their bikes, which is why local authorities had to intervene. I'll give him some credit. Some of these issues did happen. And he even showed proof of, I believe, in some of the other later tweets. But do you know who else also does not claim these guys who are doing these things? The union itself. So who were these riders who were creating this trouble? Largely the ones who were terminated by the system for repeated abuse and fraud on the platform. They impersonate, steal food, and also abscond with the cash they collect from customers, amongst other things. These individuals actually want to arm twist us to let them back onto the platforms and exploit the system for their own sake. Again, dude, where is this mentioned in the lists of asks by the union that they want everyone who was removed, who was fired, who was terminated for these kind of things to be reinstated? Dude, I don't think you read the asks. I genuinely think you didn't read anything. Just show me where this is there. Where are you getting your information from? One more thing. Our 10-minute delivery promise is enabled by the density of stores around your homes. It is not enabled by asking delivery partners to drive fast. Delivery partners don't even have a timer on their app to indicate what the original promised time was to the customer. After you place your order on Blinkit, it is picked and packed within 2.5 minutes, and then the rider drives an average of under 2 kilometers in about 8 minutes. That's an average of 15 kilometers per hour. Damn, that math's right actually. But maybe some of it's wrong. Let's say. So that first 2.5-minute window that you just said, right? That everything gets picked and packed within 2.5 minutes. This happens inside their dark stores, yes. Do you know how many hygiene issues are there in their dark stores because of this 2.5-minute timer window? There's been many cases, Zepto, Swiggy, I think even Zomato the local authority showed that these guys are not really following hygiene rules. Next, for a delivery to be successful within 10 minutes, now you've got this 8-minute window, right? But this 8-minute window must include parking, registering in your security gate, sometimes waiting for elevators, and sometimes even just going upstairs. So there's that also. Once you subtract all of this, that means that the actual time that the rider has to travel with on the wheels is actually like 3 to 4 minutes, which means to cover 2 kilometers in 3 to 4 minutes, now you've got to maintain a speed of 30 to 40. That's still not a lot though. But again, we have a lot of traffic in India. So this would lead that instead of waiting at the red signal, they'll do signal jumping and also wrong way driving. These guys earn per order. They have to complete as many orders as possible within the time they're working. So that pressure is there. You might not give them a timer, but they realize they have to make X amount of deliveries in this day. So they have to travel as fast as possible. Also, if you've ever wanted to know why millions of Indians voluntarily take a platform work and sometimes even prefer it to regular jobs, just ask any rider partner when you get your next food or grocery order. You'll be humbled by how rational and honest they will be with you. Again, I don't think these guys are in gig work because they had other options. They could do a regular job. They're here because they have nothing else. He says that career progression for an unskilled job, this is not a permanent job for anyone. Most people are only doing this for a few months in a year and they move on to something more permanent. Okay, one thing. You don't have them moving on to something permanent. They just leave your platform. You're not tracking them later. So stop with that. Next is most people do this only for a few months in a year. Yeah, your attrition rate is 65%. That's a toxic environment. They're doing it for a few months because they can't handle the pressure anymore. They're leaving. Right? And then the thing about career progression, that I'm not going to fault Deepinder for it. It's more of an issue with gig work, and I have a personal gripe with it because all gig work is doing is it's inflating job numbers, and in reality, these people are just stuck in a job where they're earning minimum wage. They can't have any career progression. They have nowhere else to move forward to. This is like their last option. Truly gig work. Okay, dude, you keep saying this, that this is a gig work, no one's using it as permanent job. Let me just show you some numbers. There's this Primus Partners study. Okay, it says 61% of the gig workers are working full time, which is 8 plus hours a day. This can go up to 14 to 15 hours, as we saw in previous other examples. 35% are actually working part time, and only 4% are seasonal. Next, you keep saying that this is not permanent work for them. Another study that I was able to find, it says that 92% reported gig work as their sole source of livelihood. Do you really think this is not permanent work for a lot of people? 92% are saying that this is their only way they can earn money. Facts below. Number one, 2025 average earnings per hour EPH excluding tips for a delivery partner were 102 rupees. In 2024, this number was 92. That's a 10% year-on-year increase. Next, what is that? Most delivery partners work for a few hours and only a few days in a month. But if someone were to work for 10 hours per day, 26 days per month, this translates to 26,500 per month in gross earnings. I don't think I'll dignify this with a response. I think the union has done that for me. Mr. Deepinder Goyal from Zomato claims 102 per hour of EPH. But at 10 hours a day into 26 days, gross is 26,500. After fuel and maintenance, 20%, net is 21,000 per month. So for 260 hours of work, that's 81 hour net with no social security, no paid leave, no accident cover. This guy in the same tweet also says that on top of this, delivery partner earned 100% of the tips given by customers. That is the minimum requirement. Stop trying to claim that's a great thing. You should not be taking any percentage of the tips. Okay. Average tip though is 2.6 rupees in 2025 and 2.4 rupees in 2024. About 5% of the orders get tipped. On Zomato, 2.5% only. So why are you bragging? It's a horribly low number. In 2025, the average delivery partner on Zomato worked 38 days in a year and 7 hours per working day, reflecting true gig-style participation rather than fixed schedules. Only 2.3% work more than 250 days in a year, demanding full-time employee benefits like PF or guaranteed salaries for gig roles doesn't align with what the model is built for. I guess, yeah, sure. Again, back to the same line. Do you think that the 38 days is because the attrition rate, that same 65% that you yourself claimed, do you think that's why 38 days coming up as their average? Well, I guess that also does fit in with your next line, isn't it? This shows that gig work is a reliable source of secondary income for delivery partners, which is available to them all 365 days a year. The previous one I'll show you another study, dude. Another study says, this one is I think by Ipsos. It says primary, not secondary. While gig work was initially considered to be a source of supplementary income for the family, sometimes an additional income for students and or the unemployed. About 88% of gig workers stated in the survey that they relied on gig work as their primary source of income. So it's not college students anymore that are just going there for a seasonal amount of money. These are people that really need these jobs. I don't want to be blamed as being picky with these numbers, okay? There's something else in this report too. Deepinder, you might be happy to see this. Look at this. 84% workers are satisfied with the work experience. 88% have the same primary income source. 89% feel that gig work offers flexibility with respect to when and where to work. I could just not show you these numbers. These don't fit with the story that I'm trying to make throughout this video. Do you think that this blows the entire case out of the water? I was also a little bit troubled. But you know what? Two things can be right at the same time. Many of these workers who are now in gig work used to be in construction work, unorganized labor. Compared to that, gig work gives you payments on time. So yeah, I too would be satisfied with the work experience. Then flexibility. These workers do have to work for 14 hours a day, but at least for 10 days a year, they can go back to their village and meet their families. And they are not worried about getting fired because they can just come back and join the app again. So that's great. This flexibility is definitely there in these apps like Zomato, Blinkit. So yeah, these apps are flexible. But neither I nor the union nor the people striking are saying that gig work itself is bad. All they want is a livable wage and to remove a section of the platform that is honestly dangerous for these guys, the 10-minute delivery. They'll work for 14 hours. They'll be happy because they're getting their money, but they shouldn't have to work for 14 hours just to earn that minimum wage. This is tiring, dude. Quick commerce, 10-minute promise does not put pressure. Most concern is this is not a system. Delivery has shown customer facing time process. Okay, no 10-minute. Okay, we already discussed this. I'm not going to do this again. Next one. 4. They get welfare benefits and long term support. They get accident insurance, medical insurance. Also, again, discussed. Dude, this guy repeats a lot of his points. No one is saying that these things are bad. They're saying they want some money so that they don't have to scrape by each day. That's all. Legal status, money, and removal of 10-minute order. Why are you bringing all this up? Sure, these are good things on your app. They should remain. These are also not the things that these workers are protesting against. This is the last tweet, at least, that I could find. Or I don't want to search for more. Okay, this is the last one that I wrote. He even said last one on this topic. Okay, last one on this topic, and I've been holding this in myself for a while. Sure. For centuries, class divides kept the labor of the poor invisible to the rich. Factory workers toiled behind walls. Farmers in distant fields domesticated in backrooms. The wealthy consumed the fruits of that labor without seeing faces of the fatigue behind it. Okay, the gig economy shattered that invisibility. Suddenly, the poor are hidden away. Bro, this guy is acting such high and mighty. Oh God. I think he genuinely believes that his company and gig work is a huge revolution. Let's discuss a little bit about this because he's gone mad, I think. Okay. So what does he say here? He says that 800 rupee order might equal their entire day's earnings after fuel, bike rent, and app cards. You decide how much to pay them. You're their employer or their partner, whatever you want to call yourself. It's not the customer who's giving them money for the work. You are employing them. You've decided that 800 is quite a lot of money. I should not be paying this delivery driver for working for 14 hours a day. You are masquerading yourself as a company, but not paying enough amount of money to your employers. That's why these guys are protesting. Customers didn't start the protest. Your employees started the protest. Ban gig. Again, I have to go back to the same. Did you read a single point from the union? Did you think they said ban gig work? Did the customers ask for banning gig work? Do you have any reading comprehension? You don't solve inequality, you remove livelihoods. They don't magically reappear as formal protected employment. You don't want to do it because then you'll have to pay them more. That's right. It's as simple as it is. Over regulated until the model. This is a thing that I've noticed a lot of companies. I'm not just talking about gig work. Okay? Many of them don't want regulation breathing down their necks because then they'll have to follow a lot of laws. They think that if regulation comes up, their companies will break. You shouldn't have companies that break just because there's a few laws that you have to follow. You guys, with the company valuations increasing by a lot, you're earning a huge amount, right? Through stocks, through percent shares, whatnot. How is it that the guys who are responsible for making those deliveries barely get any increase in pay? Please explain that amount. I think this guy is deluded. He's just wrong. He's exploiting delivery partners. He's calling it employment. I don't think he even calls it employment. These are not employees after all.